I think I gave the first public talk in the summer of 2007, in which I drew attention to the parallels between what I saw happening in Iceland and what I had seen earlier, 10 years before, in Southeast Asia and Korea. The people sort of smiled a little at my naivety and just politely said that in Iceland we're not like the people in Asia. We have our young Vikings. They are very clever business people. They know what they're doing. They are very sophisticated at managing risk. And so there's really nothing to worry about.
I mean, when you went and met the president or some of the politicians or the head of the stock exchange, it was very clear that they held the banks in a sense of fear and awe, and they weren't going to in any way make sure that they operated in a sensible manner.
What is remarkable and what is reprehensible is that the government of Iceland, the Central Bank of Iceland, and the financial regulator of Iceland all acted as cheerleaders of the banks rather than as regulators on behalf of the public.
I mean, I met the Icelandic regulator in Reykjavik, and I remember as I walked into the room, I think it was a man called Paul Gunnar Pálsson. I don't know if I've got the pronunciation right. But as I sat down, he said, "Aren't you afraid of these people?" And I looked at him, and immediately I thought, well, okay, so he must be. I said, no, of course I'm not afraid of them. At the end of the day, you know, they are what they are, and they're a shareholder, and we'll do what's right, and so on. Of course I'm not afraid of them. But I really felt like saying, but are you? And why? The Icelandic economy was on the back of these very, very successful banks. So nobody was going to sort of say, hey, slow down, stop. Nobody was going to challenge them because of the impact that that would have had on the local economy.
When it came a matter of assessing what I was saying, or indeed even what the IMF was warning on the one hand, and what Frederick Mishkin, who's a well-known monetary economist, and Richard Portes, who's also a well-known economist, were saying, they tended to go with the good news rather than with the bad news. And what they didn't know at the time was how much money these people were paid.
There's a debate as to what caused the collapse of Kaupthing Sigrid Friedlander, or Kaupthing, and I know that some people have said it was hit by the global banking crisis, and it was, to me, the global banking crisis was caused by people like Armand and Hreidar and Sigurda. I mean, to me, that's what caused the international banking crisis.
When somebody says, one of these rich people says that the money has just vanished, that may be partly true because it's simply a write-down of the value, the market value of the assets that they own. But it's also substantially untrue. What they're saying is that they've got layers of secrecy protecting anybody else from identifying where they have got this cash.